Whether you're a financial manager or a doctor or a lawyer or a karate studio, your message is not take karate. Your message is probably something like, I got beat up when I was a kid and I never want what happened to me to happen to you. It's interesting. It's the message behind the message that's really important. This is what everybody wants to discover, but nobody knows how to pull it out of you. I feel like what I'm about to tell you is what sets us apart and what has made us successful for 15 years in the business. And that is
Owen Hemsath. I find you extremely fascinating. Back in 2014, we met for the first time at Vid Summit, and it was so interesting. I remember you coming up to me and introducing yourself. I remember it like yesterday. And back then, nobody knew you, but everything has changed since then. You've been on an absolutely wild journey. And I think it would be remiss of me to not mention that you've had cancer since then and have completely overcome that and totally smashing it. And today I want to talk about what's happened there, but in particular, how you've managed to change that into a short form video game and how you've been able to use that to build like a global audience and make a global impact.
Yeah, so, it really has been a fascinating journey too. You know, like when we did meet, you were the big star. You're wearing this flashy suit, and I'm like, that's Gideon.
Just
that's
a jacket.
Gideon. You know, and like, but I was able to, Vid Summit was sort of the starting point for me in building my YouTube marketing agency. And that's what we do as a business. We help business owners, and specifically business owners of a certain amount of success, right? Build YouTube channels, doctors, lawyers, financial professionals, build YouTube channels that generate leads and get viral hits and that sort of thing. So that's been my business. I was obviously taken off guard in 2016 when I was diagnosed with stage 3 stage 3 cancer. I did all the treatment protocols. I did the chemo and the radiation and all that stuff. It did not work. And I was declared terminal. I was declared as stage 4 terminal cancer. In fact, the treatments I did made it grow even worse. And that's when I went on this new journey, and I found a different way to approach that healing journey. And I found strength in sharing that journey publicly on the web. And there was sort of this moment of like, I think all my video skills have led to this moment where now I can build my own platform and actually change lives and give people their life back. And if not, hey, maybe make my journey less abrasive. And so I began to document my training, my cancer journey, and it inspired a lot of people. And in the process, I got better, and I've been cancer free for the last 5 years. So that's it's really exciting. You know, that's a pretty exciting place to be.
You see, that's super inspiring, and maybe it's more inspiring for me, but I think it's not just me, and there's proof if we look at what you've been able to achieve. Just your Instagram. I know you've got lots of different assets, but I just want to hone in a little bit on the social media stuff you've done in the cancer space, or Cancer Thriver, Owen, your Instagram channel. This one here, in fact. So this one, you've got 243,000 followers on there. You've got all these like millions of views. A video from yesterday, this really caught my attention. This one here. Yeah. I just went through yesterday on Instagram. It was like 277,000 views. I think it's just yesterday, been a day or so.
Yeah. That's our latest one. Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, you've got the Instagram one there, but then you've got the Facebook page with about 100,000 followers there. And what really caught my attention on this one, and I, as I was doing my research, I was looking at this video here. Sorry, share my screen, and I was looking at the comments there, like over 5,000. Actually, this morning it was just 4,900. Now it's just like a couple of hours later, 5,200 comments. Just
I know it's blowing up.
That
dude.
one video.
I love it.
And I think that is testament to, I think to what you know about video, but I think there might be something more to it than that as well. There's
Yeah.
something of essence there that I'd love to talk about today and unpack that. So
Yeah.
so first of all, I want to know from you what made you decide to kind of go a bit more public with this? Because a lot of people, they get sick and they become unwell and they don't talk about it, they hide it. But you decided to go the total opposite way, and
Yeah.
you've been able to build a profile around that, and not just that, but a huge following, and dare I say, making a huge impact in the world for the better.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to go that way, and to use short form video in particular to help you do that?
Well, thank you. First of all, I agree that we have made a huge impact. I have a cancer support group, and we got 4 cancer-free test results in the last 35 days from that
Wow,
support group, and that is,
that's awesome. Mm.
dude, that's like why you do it, man. And it's like because Facebook and Instagram pay nothing.
Mm.
3 million views on Facebook this month, 8 million views on Instagram, and I made a total of $6, man.
What? But is
Yeah,
okay.
and it's like the money that you make as a content creator is really not why you do it. Now we have a cancer support group, and there's some other things, and a lot of people have their groups and whatnot. But to go, I do think we're making an impact, and I'm privileged. I'm blessed to be a part of that. Like I feel like I'm one piece of that puzzle. But I grew up. I'm going to go to the hero's journey a little bit. Like I grew up in
Go
a
for it.
very working class. My dad was a truck driver. My mom was a drug addict. And everything was a secret in our family. Everything was shameful. Right. So, my mom would spend most of my childhood passed out in a blue robe. But then if I got like a C in math, that was shameful, and we had to kind of like hide that. Um,
Mm.
my sister got into sort of like this is in Los Angeles, California, um, Latino gangs, right? And that was shameful, But my mom, of course, was like, So when I got older, in order to kind of like defeat the demons of my past, I wanted to live out loud. And I wanted to live very publicly. And I remember Friendster. Oh, dude. Friendster came out and they asked you for a screen name, right? Like you got to pick your screen name. Now, for those of
Mm.
you guys that don't know, for the uninitiated, okay, Friendster was the precursor to Facebook. Friendster was out for about 5 seconds and then Facebook came out.
That's right. They were very
So,
brief, yeah, and it's just sort of in
yeah,
between.
yeah, yeah.
I forget the other one, and Facebook,
MySpace.
MySpace.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So I was killing it on MySpace. I had this whole like animated GIF show that was killer. And like back then they said GIF and now they say GIF, but
GIF,
whatever,
yeah.
right?
Yo, you go way back, man. Wow.
No, I'm an OG. So I remember when they asked me to pick a screen name, I go, I'm gonna be who I am and I'm gonna live out loud. And that's a decision that I've largely stayed true to. I mean, even my name Cancer Thriver Owen is Owen. I'm Owen. Uh, so when I was diagnosed with the cancer, the very first thing that went through my mind is close the business, focus on healing. But as I sat in that hospital bed, because they you're in the emergency room and then they go, you got cancer, and then like you're in this room, they admit you to the hospital and you're about to get a biopsy tomorrow. And it was the day that I had my biopsy. And I had woken up at like 5 a.m. and I was like, I'm going to do this out loud. I'm going to share this with the world, live or die. And either way, the name of Owen will be known. I'm not going to fade quietly into the dark. There was this deep rebellion against what I felt was this great wrong that had happened to me. Here I am, this kid, and it wasn't the people that hurt me that got sick. It was me. And it was like, that's not fair. And I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to just go quietly into the night. I am going to radically stand up against this disease and bring as many people with me on the journey. And I actually thought about Forrest Gump. I thought about when Forrest Gump was running around the country and had all those people following him. And it's like, It wasn't about the fame though. It was about I'm going to inspire people to share their pain, and that's exactly what happened. And I know from my own. I tell people often that my self awareness is my greatest strength. I know that I do better when someone's watching, and that was I think part of it as well.
So this has had a huge impact, not just on others. I mean, it's had an impact on me as well. I just shared with you before we started the call how I look at you as an inspiration for my general well-being and health. Because when you recover from cancer, you got to be healthy, and so there's lots of health lessons there. In any case, even if you're not unwell, even if you're well, that's what I mean to say. There's
Yeah.
still benefit in being healthy. So tell me, by going down this path and building this profile, how else has that benefited your life in particular?
Well, I think that's a really intimate question, because you don't want to you want to keep it all focused on the people whose lives you're saving. I often say um, there's kids out there who have a dad because they followed my advice. There's kids out there who have a mom, and there's moms out there who have kids because of my content. Um, and I feel like that's worth it. I struggle with it sometimes because it's not a big money maker. We generate revenue through the memberships, and um, I've got some things that I refer doctors and this kind of thing, and there's sort of money to be made on it. But I think largely what I've learned from this is the joy. Look, my other business does well. We're not hurting for money, and so but you want to be a good steward, right? It's like I can't just do this for free. Got to build a website. Someone's got to pay for that.
Mm.
um, we have a dream of starting a nonprofit for dads specifically. I feel like there's all this pink stuff for ladies when they get sick, but there's not a lot of stuff for men.
Mm.
um,
A
and
blue
and we
ribbon
want
or
to start a
something.
nonprofit. Yeah, exactly. Like a black ribbon. Well, maybe that's
Or
a little
black.
bit,
A
like
bit
a little bit
dark.
too morbid. Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
we want to do something for dads specifically that get the breadwinners that get cancer,
Mm.
because it really affects the whole family, and
I love that. Mm.
kids who lose their father like often never recover. And so
Mm.
there's this
Mm.
altruistic value that is brought to my table that money, excuse my cold here, money is not everything.
Mm.
And that has changed the way that I operate in the day-to-day of life, where we talked about it a little bit before the call, is like contentment and being enough. That I think is the biggest value that this has brought to the table. Now, on the flip side, I've really got to hone my video making skill and my storytelling skills. Like I was in high school, I wanted to be like a high school. I was the guy in all the plays. And growing up in LA, I wanted to be in movies and commercials and stuff like this. Obviously, I didn't take that path. And I had a feeling, I knew early on that if I got into Hollywood, I would probably get into drugs like my mom. I had a proclivity for drugs and alcohol. And it was like, I think that that's bad for me. So I didn't know what I was going to do with my life until YouTube came out. And then YouTube came out. I'm like, dude, that's it. In fact, I was actually working at a radio station at the time, and they were just introducing like pre-roll video ads on their online radio streaming box, right? So I was making these videos and selling them to people and putting them. Well, that job didn't work out. I wasn't made to have a boss, and so that job didn't work out. And I remember leaving and going, I am going to build a career on YouTube. But my career took a path of helping lawyers and doctors and real estate agents kind of like know how to perform on camera, right? I was inspired by um, the idiom of the California gold rush, right? Where they say like, it wasn't the gold miners who made the fortune. It was the ones who sold the shovels. And so I was
Right.
like, back in the beginning, dude, there was no AdSense. Like I've been on YouTube since 2008, just so that you guys know. Before Google owned it, when the biggest video at the time was Evolution of Dance. And so
I
I'm
remember that
making
one.
these
Yeah.
skit videos, right? Okay, so I'm making these skit videos and I'm doing my thing. People love it. I'm going viral, but there's no money to be made. And my dad's going like, what are you going to do? Because my dad and I were close at this time. He goes, what are you going to do? Like, you're just making these videos. How are you going to make money? You left the radio station. Now what? So I go, I'm going to sell shovels. I'm going to go teach doctors and lawyers how to make videos. And so that's how I built my career, and I never really got a chance. You've seen my channel. Like I've been able to build somewhat of a platform. I've live streamed and things like this, but the cancer content has allowed me to refine my video making skills in both long form and short form to show the world what I know how to do. And we've been able to master the Instagram algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, and the Facebook algorithm. And I had already conquered TikTok. TikTok to me is a waste of time. So I'd already conquered it.
Interesting.
And the way that you could spit in a bucket and get 1 million followers on TikTok, right? It's like, I want to be where the commerce is. So
Right. Okay.
being
So
able to refine my own skills has been valuable. Yeah.
awesome. And I think that's what's really powerful about the essentially case study that you've got with the cancer story that you've got, and being able to build a profile around that, because you also have your YouTube consultancy slash agency, Acceleratus Media, where you help people with that, and definitely want to talk about that in a second. But you've also had other things like being MC at Vid Summit and a couple of other big video events. So you've been able to build this incredible profile, and I think having a case study like that, not that you necessarily built it for that purpose, but it gives you incredible credibility, which is huge, for doing anything else. And that leads me to sort of a nice segue into the next part of it, which is, if we could look at the big picture strategy sort of stuff. If you could take me through that, if I was someone who had a message, and I know you're helping people in the health space more recently as well.
Yeah.
Or health and wellness. But say I've got a message on my heart and I want to share it with the world, but I don't know how to do that. Where do I even start?
I spend a lot of time in the business as well. I definitely consider the cancer content as a side hustle. And we have 2 coaches in our company that handle our clients, and I train those coaches. Is where I spend most of my time. So even today I was looking at a channel for a financial manager, multi-million dollar company, and I'm watching this content, and the question you just asked is what I saw in this content is, what is it you want to say? Because whether you're a financial manager or you're a doctor or a lawyer or a karate studio, your message is not take karate. Your message is probably something like, I got beat up when I was a kid, and I never want what happened to me to happen to you. And the same with an attorney. Like, most of the attorneys that I work with were born outside of the United States, and they have achieved the American dream, and they want to help others do the same thing. It's interesting, the messaging. It's the message behind the message that's really important. I've got a client in Los Angeles, and she's sort of like she's wonderful. She's a former Netflix TV show, and now building a personal brand in fashion and pregnancy. And her message is, she's first generation from Italy. Her dad came here from Italy on a boat, and she's a multi-millionaire before she married a multi-millionaire. So they've got all of this wealth. And she's like, I want people to know that it's possible for you. I have another client, Johnny Walker. Oh, this guy. First generation Indian. So it's not Johnny Walker, it's Janathawa or something like this. Like, I apologize, Johnny. I know I got that wrong, but same thing. His dad came to Canada and then moved him to New York, where Johnny got a degree and became a dentist and then began investing in real estate. And his whole message, yes, the commerce side was invest in apartment buildings. That's the call to action. But his message was, you can have everything you dreamed of, and I can help you get there. So it's the message behind the message. And I feel like this is what everybody wants to discover, but nobody knows how to pull it out of you.
Okay.
So you hire a marketing agent.
Can we double click a little bit on that, Owen? Because I think that's the reason why I'm asking this question. Because sometimes, this is the thing, sometimes I think, I'm not sure if this was the case for you, but perhaps that the message behind the message came maybe easier, possibly because of the experience that you had, the traumatic experience that you had. And maybe that's similar for some other folks who are, maybe it's easier for them to come up with that message or the message behind the message. But then there are another group of people that they feel there's something, but they're not quite sure what it is and how to get there. And it sounds like you've figured out a way to find that out.
Yeah, I ask, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life? You know what I mean? Like, hey, tell me about the biggest pain in your life. Well, for me, it's the cancer story, right? But it's like, it's the same with me. Is like, I want to help inspire people to believe that they can do more than the expectations they walked in with. And for me, it's like, I thought I gave up on my dreams. I thought I'd never be an actor. I thought I would never be, a media personality. And it turned out that's exactly what I became. And I became that because my mom was a drug addict, because my dad was absentee, even though he was there. I never saw him as a kid. It was the pain that makes us great. And what we do is especially in America, we have this belief that our pain isn't good enough to be the story that motivates somebody. No. You got to be like an inner city kid arrested and gone to jail in order to be a story. Well, no, that's not your story, but that is someone's story. What we have to do is we have to tap into that hero's journey and go, what was I before? And where do I want to be now, or where am I now, depending on where you are in the journey, right? I often think of it as like a river, like a creek, right? And you're on this side of the creek now, and you cross the creek, and who are you then? The before state and the after state. And so I'm talking to my clients in what we call a blueprint call. And this is where we dive deep into their strategy. And it's like, tell me who you are, what your business does. Okay. All right. So now I understand your call to action, right? You want people to buy your thing or to invest in your program, right? Okay. Now, why? Why? Where are they now? And where do we want them to be? And that always comes from their personal story. So with Joanna, it was, and we had to wrestle through a little bit because she couldn't get pregnant. And then she did a procedure and got pregnant. And it's like, it's not your story though. That was kind of like, that's a later battle, right? That's the Battle of Hoth, okay? But you're already Luke Skywalker at this point, right? How did you become Luke Skywalker? And that's how I learned that her dad came here on a boat. And it's like, that's the story. And it's funny because there was a bit of shame wrapped up in it. Well, I don't want people to know that. Like, they're going to think we're dirty immigrants. And I'm going, no, that's your story. That's your inner city kid story. So oftentimes, like what it is the thing that we don't want to talk about. What I've learned how to do, because believe it or not, I did get a degree in media psychology. This is sort of what I've been trained in. And it's funny because I went to school to learn YouTube. I literally did. Went to school to learn camera techniques and filming and all these things. And then the year I graduated top of my class. And then the next year, YouTube taught everything I learned in school for free. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I was glad to go because I learned a lot about discipline and showing up and accomplishing goals. So much of what we want to hear from people are the things they don't want to talk about. And, they don't make the connection, right? The lawyer who's doing immigration, like he thinks it's all about them. Yeah, ish, right? But they got to connect to you first. There's a ton of immigration lawyers I can call. I can call any personal injury attorney lawyer. But the reason I call this guy is because he loves the movies. The reason I call this guy is because he's from Egypt. The reason I like this person is because they're way into family and kids, And it's those things that we look at that feel less unique, but are very unique to you. So it's not always the pain, it's just those things that are like, what are you all about?
Yeah.
That's what we try to pull out.
I like what you just pointed out there. It's like, it's the story of how you became the Luke Skywalker, for in your own life, as opposed to something that happened afterwards. It's going back in time and finding that core part of you, that something happened at some point that turned you into that hero figure, the Luke Skywalker kind of figure. I think that's really useful and helpful to look at. So I'm sure you can talk.
The ooze, like it's Ninja Turtles. It was the green ooze. You know what I mean? It's like, what is your green ooze story? What was that pivot moment? One of our mutual friends, he had said to me, the guy named Daryl, he had said to me, cancer is your origin story. And I was so mad. I was like, I don't want that. I want to be the camera guy who earned a degree and came from LA. And it's like, that's not your story, though. The story is that you overcame all the odds and you're still here, dude. And it's like, that's it. So even on my own video content is we try to be inspirational, right? Like no matter what your cancer is, right? Because people tell me all the time, well, oh, and I'm divorced. That's nothing like what you've gone through. But it's like, yeah, but I've never been divorced. So it sounds terrible, right? Don't compare your journey to my journey, right? We all have these hurdles and let's walk through it together, because the same thing that inspires a cancer patient, like that same emotion inspires the guy whose wife left him, or the person with autoimmune, or the person with the guy named Tony Jacobson, dude, who's got like this debilitating bone thing going on, and yet he shows up online every day smiling, and it's just like, that's what the world needs.
So what strikes me that's really interesting about your story is that the inciting incident for you, I guess you could call it the ooze, the green ooze for you was, the cancer. But even though that was fairly clear to maybe someone like Daryl Eves, our common friend, to you it wasn't obvious. In fact, it was something that you wanted to kind of hide. It's actually something you didn't want to expose to the world. There was a sense of whatever it was, shame, or this is not what you wanted to show or share. And true to the hero's story, there was that refusal of the call. So I think that's something really important to note for others as well. It's like there is that, even though there's that inciting incident and something of significance that's happened, for you as the hero in the story, there's resistance. It's not something that you naturally just go, oh yeah, this is great, I'm going to do it. There's a bit of resistance there, and I think so that's actually a sign that it might be the thing that you need to jump into. Would you agree to that?
It definitely is. Yeah, it definitely is. And we don't really tell our clients about the hero's journey because our clients are academics, they're professional experts,
Hmm.
and we try not to get them too deep into what we know. We just guide them on the path, right? It's kind of like you're doing a path down the Grand Canyon or some mountain hike, and someone starts telling you about the dangerous rattlesnakes that could kill you. It's like, dude, I was perfectly happy not knowing about all those rattlesnakes. Just
Hmm.
just lead me safely through the hike, right? So that's what we try to do. Like we don't tell them all these things, but I know that when they start to push back, it's like, I got them. I got something here, you know?
Nice.
And there usually is a let me sleep on it kind of moment. Um, I do have one client, Nancy at Skin Diva Labs. Oh, she's a little bit more mature. You got to see her stuff. She's phenomenal. So Skin Diva Labs, look her up. But she's mature and wonderful. And she came to me because she's got this natural skincare line. And she's like, I went through cancer and I developed a skincare line. And I want to tell everyone about it. And so, oh yeah, here we are. So that's what she does, is like, she knew what her story was already. And she came to me going like, that's her right there. So she's just fabulous.
You're someone who wants.
That's a channel there. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
and we just love watching her work. She knew what her story was, and she wanted us to help market it, right? And so that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing with her. So some people, I think, know it, but I still, when we do our blueprint session, I still like to review it with you and make sure that
Mm.
we're on the same point, because step one is understanding it. Step two is communicating it, right? We often
Yeah.
say that marketing is your messaging, right?
Right.
And it's
So
like, how are you communicating that? Can people even understand you?
yeah, and that is the next thing I wanted to ask you, which is, once you've got your message, it's cool. Maybe you even have that inciting incident or your origin story, as you call it, and you're comfortable now with sharing it with the world. So, but it's one thing having your message, but it's another thing actually sharing it and very importantly, getting the algorithm to pick up on that. And I know that
Yeah.
you are really well acquainted with the different algorithms, especially on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok as well, maybe others too. So what are the important things there for, when you think about creating the content? What do you need to keep in mind for creating content that the algorithms will pick up on and then share you out to the rest of the world?
Yeah, fantastic. I feel like what I'm about to tell you is what sets us apart, and what has made us successful for 15 years in the business. And that is the silo strategy. The silo strategy is how we build content on any platform. And I've uploaded thousands of videos, thousands of videos. I mean, I've produced thousands of videos. Um, and the silo strategy works every single time, but it's not a hole punch strategy. It's not a stamp and go. Like, it takes work and it takes a professional eye to recognize what silos you need to be building. But YouTube, as the example, Instagram is the same way, but like YouTube is more like Netflix than it is like social media. And what YouTube wants is binge watching. They want you to watch one and then another and then another. And when you understand this, you recognize that the secret is not in making a video, but in making many videos on the same topic. We call that a silo. People say, well, Owen, that's a playlist. No, 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 no. Because I could make a playlist of a boxing video, a basketball video, a soccer video, and there's no guarantee that I'm going to watch all three of those in one sitting, right? But when you've got like a boxing playlist, now you've got a viewer who's interested in boxing. So your chances of them watching more than one video in that playlist increase significantly. We can go even further and we could like make it a Muhammad Ali playlist, right? We go even further and make it a Muhammad Ali's fastest knockouts playlist. Now you've got somebody who's watching, swiping, watching again, swiping, and watching again. This is binge watching, and this is what will trigger the algorithm on any platform. So I remember building my first TikTok channel. This was a couple years ago. This is like right around COVID. I'm building my first TikTok channel, and I was doing this these skits. I was like doing comedy on TikTok, and I noticed that the videos that were doing well were me holding a red cup, and the whole joke was, "Hey, Dad, watch me," and then my kid would do something, and I would go without even looking up. I'd go, "That was great, son," and then he would say something snarky at me, like, "Mom's leaving you," something like out of whack. And I made a couple of those, and I noticed that those were the ones going viral. So rather than go into a new idea, we just kept making more of those and dialing in that silo. Now, that was more of a format silo where the silo was opens with a red cup, kid does something normal. It wasn't like my kid does a double backflip, right? My son will be like, "Dad, watch this. Watch me go off the diving board." And he kind of falls off the diving board. And then at the end, there would be this really adult one-liner that comes from the kid. And it was supposed to shock the audience and get them to laugh. It's gangbusters, dude. And so as that silo began to build, you run out of ideas and people get bored. But we start to pull from that silo and put it into other silos. A well-rounded channel is going to have multiple silos. This is actually how Mr. Beast started. And another great pop culture example is Ryan Trahan. Ryan Trahan made a silo on the penny, getting to trading things for a penny. You might call it a series. It's a silo. And on Netflix, it would be called a series. He also did a silo on outdoor living. So this is the difference. You can't just wake up and go, "I feel like making this today." That is old YouTube. You have got to go, "Okay, I'm in this marketplace. Here's what's sort of trending in this marketplace." This is the blueprint call. We do all the research. Your competitors are doing this. And like, here's kind of like what I call the marketing junk drawer. We need to pick out some pieces of this marketing junk drawer and make a silo strategy. Our ideal process is 4 silos, 3 to 5 videos in each silo. And we publish them all, like we publish 3 at a time, all at the same time. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Or if it's a new channel, just publish them all today. Who cares? Right? Because they need to be binge watchable. You can't be a new channel and here's the thing. They should not be numerical either. Part 1, part 2. I need to be able to bounce around because I don't know which one the algorithm is going to pick up.
Interesting.
But we launched 4 silos.
4
Yeah, go ahead.
silos. Yeah, so 4 silos, because that was one of the other questions I had was like, okay, so how many do you come up with? So just 4 silos, is that like in total, or do you expand out to more silos, or do you of go,
we have 10,
no, those are the only 4 I focus
silos.
on?
Yeah, it's like 10 silos. And then what are the 4 we think are going to have the highest chance of performing? Okay. And then we'll move on to the next 4. And here's the thing, is like, strategy is great until you upload your first video. And then it's like you follow the rabbit, or you follow the breadcrumbs, right? So
it's like you come up with your first silo or a group of silos, test it out, see what happens, and like you did with the cup videos, you sort of then go, okay, that worked well. What else can we do in that space? And then expand from that. So it sounds like there's a bit of thinking and strategy up front, but then from there on, it becomes quite an organic process to figure out what is the next silo. Is that right?
Yeah. And even, you're exactly right. And even coming up with the silos, it's more because I think the average business owner will say something like, "Okay, well, I'm a doctor, so I'll do a silo on supplements or vitamins," right? Do you guys say vitamins or you say vitamins?
I say vitamins. I like the American way. There's some folks who are crazy who say vitamins.
Yeah, nuts. Total nuts people. I'm kidding, guys. So, yes, okay, great. We're going to do supplements, but what supplements and why does that matter? Right? So there's an element of and how you going to cover it that makes it different, right? Now, one of our good friends, Dr. Sten, he might cover it from the whiteboard. I like that. I like that a lot versus like, kind of speaking of supplements, like having it in your hand is it's a little infomercial-y. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we cover those things? That I think is the big part of the silo because when when The Office was the number one television show in the history of the world, um, you get used to a format, right? You get used to what's called a cold opening. So the classic example I use is the parkour episode, right? So for those of you guys that don't know The Office, you're missing out. It's a great show.
This is the
It
American
opens
one
up.
now, right? Not the
Yes,
original one.
yeah. No, the British version has got some good stuff too. But I'm speaking specifically of the Michael Scott in the American version. It opens up with the guys doing parkour in the office. So they're like making a mess in the office. Go parkour, and then it ends with somebody jumping off the roof and getting hurt, and then the theme song begins. Da na na da na 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 na. After the theme song, we go right back into the office where, Jim's kind of, and it zooms in on him. There's format and structure. And part of your silo is having a format and structure that conditions the audience to receive the same thing every single time. If I were to log into The Office, I watch episode 1 and it's hilarious and I love it. But then I log in and I watch episode 2 and it's an hour-long drama. There's no comedy. It's like, what is this? You bait and switched me, right? When you create a formula, right, what we call a VBO, video build out, a structure that can be duplicated every time. Now you have a framework for content that you don't have to come up with a new video every time. You just kind of plug a new topic into your structure. And then and that's silo 1. Silo 1 open, it's like you at the desk, right? Like me at the desk. And then it goes to my hands over the screen. Like there's like 4 shots that we cut to. Every video in that silo follows the formula. But then we might do a second silo where maybe it's a walk and talk and designed to be more of a video journaling kind of thing, right? And what we're doing is we're testing those formats to see what people like. And in the end, one might have better views, one might have better watch time. What we try to do is hypothesize and go, okay, let's do the walk and talks, but halfway through the video, just land at the office desk. Because after that point, the watch time's already good, right? So
these formulas, are they? Sorry to interject, Owen, but just a question on these formulas that you're working on for the structure of the videos. Are they unique for each client and for each content type, or are there some general structures that you sort of use for coming up with the specific structure then for each person that you're working with?
Wouldn't you like to know? Yeah, there's
of course.
yeah, we know what works. But and we have kind of like a handful of VBOs that we will apply. Like if we got lawyers, it's like, well, we know this is going to work. Or if we got doctors, especially, right, we know this is going to work. But we also are very wary of being, like some agencies out there, like they only work with financial guys. And all of those videos look the same. We don't want to be that. We like being creatives. And so I try to think of it like the Russian dolls, where it's like, hey, we're going to pull what worked here and what worked here, but then we're going to add a little cherry on top that's unique to this client. And that's something we enjoy. We enjoy doing. And our clients, like, they need to like it. They need to be. We never want a client to dance if they don't want to dance. We never want a client to be cheesy if they don't like being cheesy, right? Even with my serious client, I build in Dr. Jake. He's great. I build in these little one-liners for him. It's like, now say this, right? He'll be talking to me like, now this supplement, it's going to make you live longer and jump faster. And then I'll say, and it will grow your mustache. And he'll be like, but it won't. And I go, just say it though. And it will grow your mustache. And then I go, now smile and say, just kidding. And he'll be like, Just kidding. And we go, and it's like, I have to write that in. The audience loves it because he's so doctory is our word for it. But it's
Awesome.
it's like now they come to know. They come to look at like what's the bad joke going to be in this one that that he's obviously being coached through, you know. But
Okay.
that's part of how we do it.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to find there is are there universal formulas? And it sounds like you've got some secret sauce there, which is great to hear. But also, it sounds also that like there's some of it that you figure out with each individual case, and that it's not necessarily one size fits all, which is kind of good to hear in a way. But also, it means you've got to be a bit more creative. Oh, and we've got to start wrapping things up a little bit, but I do have one more question for you that relates more to the content side of things, which is the all-important hook side of short form video. Everybody talks about hooks. And I think what we've done here today is lay an extremely good ground level, base level for how to build a really good strategy for building an audience with your message on short form. But when it comes to hooks, in the last couple of next few minutes before we wrap things up, what do you think are the most important things for grabbing people's attention right at the beginning? Like, what if you could give people just one or two or three or whatever your top secret might be for hooking people right at the beginning? What would that be?
Yeah, I got three. Okay, and
Great.
tried and true, and last these are proven marketing techniques, right? One of my favorite guys is Wizard of Ads. Get his books. If you're a marketer or if you want to get more creative, like Wizard of Ads, it's a great flip through book and he'll just share quick campaigns. But I really love this guy. So a lot of what I'm talking about is what we've developed in video, but these come from really solid marketing psychology. So when it comes to making a good hook, you want the verbal hook, the visual hook, and the value hook. Okay. Now, I see a lot of these people online doing like, hey, these are the 17 best hooks and da-da-da-da-da. And it's usually someone who's like 25 years old or younger, massively viral Instagram channel, and they're going to solve all your business problems, right? We call these kid hooks because they're going to attract a certain type of person. When you can stick to the visual, the verbal, and the value, and if you can get them all in one, you're going to do very well. The visual hook is what the viewer sees on the first frame. The visual hook. You know, a great example of this was like the soccer players, they'd kick the ball, and then in the next frame, a guy catches the ball, and he's like, if you don't have a good lawyer, visual hook, right? The verb, but another great example is like even my studio and my set. Like people log in, they see this, they see my kids, and they go, who's this guy? What's this guy? This guy knows what he's doing. When you're a doctor and you log in and it's like a brown wall and you're in a white lab coat, you're kind of like, a little boring, you know, like let's make it look a little more lively if we can. So we want the viewer, when they first, remember, they click a thumbnail on YouTube or on Instagram, they see a cover image and then the video starts playing. You have to fulfill on that promise within the first 3 seconds, like visually. Okay. The verbal hook is the first thing the viewer hears. Could be the words, could be a sound effect, could be a song. That's where music comes into play. What does the viewer hear? When you combine a visual hook with a verbal hook, you got a very powerful chance of getting the viewer to watch for 5 more seconds. Keep in mind, your hook is only as good as the your hook's not, the hook's not going to keep them watching, right? If you keep saying, and I'll get to that, but give me one, but first, you only got so much of that in a 1-minute video, right? You really got to get to it. And then the value hook is the value the viewer will receive from the video, right? And that could be a combination of, like, you might just say that, like, hey, and if you watch this video, what you'll get is, but it could also be a sense of lifestyle, right? How I built my, or the best restaurants in, right? You're gonna get, if you watch this, you're gonna get a list of restaurants that will make you look like the hero on the next business trip, right? So sometimes it's an implied value. What I love about Instagram is the use of captions. The reel is only part one on Instagram. The captions are part two. And if you can use those together where it's like verbal and visual in the reel, and then the caption gives you the value, that's a great way to go, right? You never want to have your caption just repeat what you said in your reel.
And the caption is the text that you post with your video. This is just not to be confused with some people might call the captions on the video or in the video, right? Or the subtitles, right?
It's
just the text that goes with the video.
Correct. We used to call it the posting copy.
Got it.
To make it clear, but Instagram is pretty like they call it caption. So
Got it.
Facebook calls it caption too, but it's the posting copy. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. That is like a mini master class in just hooks. But of course, the whole call is a master class in just the whole full-on strategy with video. Owen, it's just been so incredible. I've learned a ton. I've been doing this stuff for 20 years, but I've learned a ton just from this interview. And I'm so glad we talked. I'm going to be implementing the silo strategy into my stuff that I'm doing. We're building the Vubli brand up. I might get back into a personal brand once again at some point. This has been incredibly useful. Where's the best place that people can go? Because I know you're helping people specifically with this sort of stuff as well. Where can we send people to find out more about you and to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd go to owenvideo.com, and that's my website. That'll link you to our website, or you kind of like learn more about me. If you want to get my shorts strategy specifically, go to owenvideo.com/shorts. And I've got a whole blueprint, a lot of what I covered here today about the visual hook, the value hook, and all that stuff. That's all in here. And you'll see links to my cancer content in here. But I am my cancer content. If you want to type this in, it's Beat Cancer with Me is my cancer content. If anybody was
here. This one here
was specific, if anybody was specifically motivated by Beat Cancer with Me, that content, like go here, follow that content. All of my links are here, all my guides, all my groups, and everything is here. So this is something that's out there for you.
This is amazing. I've actually just sent someone recently to this Beat Cancer with Me site to, they just got cancer, and I thought, where's a great resource I can send them to? So I just sent them to there. Yeah. So, but if you're interested in that, please check it out, beatcancerwithme.com. But the other two are owenvideo.com. It'll actually redirect to Owen's acceleratusmedia.com site. Where you can find out more. But if you want to find out more about the short stuff, that's owenvideo.com/shorts. So please make sure you go and check that out. Owen, it's just been an absolute pleasure and a delight to talk to you again. And again, thank you for all your inspiration. Thank you for sticking with it and, and making a real difference in the world. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to grow your influence with daily short form videos, Vubli makes it effortless. Post everywhere, be seen everywhere. Try it free at vubli.ai. I'll see you in the next episode.